Hi guys, you're here with me, Jen the Taxidermy Witch, and we are doing an infant sleep spell. So, come sit and join me. This video was created for my newest subscriber. His name is Evan. Hi Evan. I just did up a spell on a diaper rash be gone for infants. And now I'm doing one for infant sleep. So, basically, since there aren't any videos or success with Google search on infant spells for diaper rash, I went with the medicinal herbs from a homeopathic, naturopathic, Chinese herbalist perspective. And then I decided to place those herbs into a wax poppet in the area, and when we think sleep, it's the whole entire body, isn't it? It's the head, but it's the whole entire body. Your whole entire body rests. So for this, you could mix all the herbs into your original ball of wax before you shape the human, okay? Excuse me, my throat, I just can't get it completely clear. I'm sorry. So, then I decided to place it into a wax poppet. You could use any style of poppet, wax, cloth, thread, dried corn silks, husks, etc. Get creative. To me, I'm always pressed on time, so the paraffin wax warmer is a really fast, easy way to do this. Alex, can you turn that down, please? Please. So, excuse me. The television was a little loud. I couldn't concentrate. Okay, so this is a fast, easy way for me to do it, and sometimes I even time to have to start and finish it on a video. We'll see. But you get the idea. So take any of these herbs that I suggest, dip your hand into one of these paraffin wax warmers. Otherwise, you can warm wax up on the stove and just YouTube another video on how to make a wax poppet, because it'll show you how to warm it up on the stove and everything. I'm just showing you how I do it with a paraffin wax hand dipper, because that keeps it warm all the time, and it's a really inexpensive way. They're, you know, you can get them for $5 to $10, like, or cheaper at a garage sale, but brand new, they're only like $25. And then you get the wax to put in them. And the wax that I have is a lavender scented wax, and oftentimes they're already scented. You can figure out what the wax is made from. You could even spend a lot. But yeah, paraffin. Alright. You could add your own essential oils into it if you just got a unscented wax. And this wax has got a little purple tinge to it. I think it's kind of pretty as well. So where are we at? So we're putting them throughout the whole body. The herbs that we can use are linden flower, ashwagandha, valerian root, but you do not want to get the valerian root anywhere near the baby. So if you use one of the baby's toys for energy, you make sure the valerian root does not touch it, because it is such a strong herb. So good for adult sleep. Okay, and let's see what else is on here. Chamomile. Probably the two most common are going to be lavender and chamomile. If you had just those two and the wax, that'd be perfect. Here's lavender. Lemon balm. This is some we've grown fresh in our garden, Alex and I. Rosebuds. Now, you can't really put a whole bud into one of these, so maybe you want to omit that. Unless you had a teeny tiny bud, that would be awesome. You could put that in the head maybe. And the last thing is magnolia bark. I don't have any magnolia bark except for the bits that are where it was attached to the tree. But these are magnolia leaves from Peggy's. Now, so those are the herbs that you can roll into the wax. Now let's talk about what you'll need. You will need a couple of glass jars, a large one and a small one. The large one is for if you are going to collect what you need. Okay, we'll start. Number one, you need some of baby's nail clippings. That's very simple. Just make sure that the baby's not hurt in the process. You just clip the nail clippings. And you will mold those into the wax with the herbs, okay? If for some reason you can't get the nail clippings because you're too scared to clip the baby's nails, let's say your spouse does that or something, I don't know. Your spouse should know that you're doing the spell. You should be on the same page with all of this with your spouse, I think. Another thing that you can use if for some reason you don't want to or can't use nail clippings, but I think that would be the easiest, but you could use a shed hair. And I say shed because you never, ever, 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 ever want to pull a baby's hair out. It hurts. You don't want to get these ingredients with pain attached to them. It's just not what you want. And it's just not kind. And it's just not something that I would suggest to do. But here's a place where you could look for a shed baby hair. Attached to their little night clothes, on their pillow, in their bedding, in their car seat where they might sleep, you know, things like, places like that, under or around the bed. You could mold that into the wax as well, but I would put it in at the end and just let it stick out of the head, just because it's a little actual hair. This representation is everything. Put the nail clippings in the hand and the feet area. If you pulled them from the hands, put them in the hand area. Representation is everything here, you guys. You could put a little diaper on to represent the baby. Okay, if you did that diaper rash spell and you want to mix it with the sleep spell, you sure could. You could mix these two spells together. Okay, so now, what are some, we talked about all the herbs. Oh, okay, ingredients. So you want to have wax of some kind. And if you don't have wax for this poppet, you could make it out of, like, you know, you could make a poppet out of needle and thread and cloth and stuff it with, like, corn silks. Or you could make, or cotton, I guess. Cotton and the herbs. Or you could make it out of, either way, you have to get the herbs inside of this poppet. So, I think wax is easy because it just spreads throughout the whole thing. But again, if you don't have wax, you want alternatives. Corn, you can use the husks, you can use the, these all have to be dried, of course. You can use the husks, the silks, and the cobs. You can use, just get creative, you guys, but like those are some suggestions that I've got. If you've got other ways to make poppets, let me know. I love new ideas. You could sculpt them out of clay, I suppose. Clay hardens just like this, so if you didn't have, yeah, do it out of clay. Why not? Why not? But you have to do it before it dries and hardens, kind of like the wax. Yeah, it's about as pliable as clay would be when it's dry. So yeah, cool. You could use clay as well. You also want a candle to be burning, because I really feel that this keeps our spirit guides and angels right at the working with us, and that's important to me. It's also just in general, I believe, brings alchemy into the spell, and I just always, always, always have a candle going. What's next? The small jar that's clean and a tissue is for baby's tears. You want to collect baby's tears during the time they're crying, like, for the ailment. If it was for teething, you'd want the tears from when they were teething. This is for sleep. So when your baby's crying and just can't get to sleep, you take a clean tissue in this clean small jar and you wipe the tears away. Open the jar, get it in there, shut the jar. Keep it for this. Really think it's important. I do. The bigger jar is for the next thing, which is okay. The bigger jar is for baby's clothes. Like, you can have a big play session with baby's rattle or baby's toys or whatever. And then the clothes that the baby's wearing, you want to, you want to put fresh clothes on for this playtime that you're going to try and jar up the happiness. We're trying to jar up happiness to have around when we do our working so that we have baby's happiness there and baby's sadness. You know, we're going to banish away the sadness, but we're going to try and bring the happiness back in, okay? I think I forgot to say it in the first video on infants when I was talking about diaper rash, but to banish the sadness, to banish these tears, you safely burn them in your cauldron or outside with a candle or somewhere. Burn them where it's safe. If you have water around, you could pour it out. This area I'm in, not a safe place to be burning any kind of paper. I would go in my kitchen or somewhere make it super safe. But I've got this huge cauldron. And if you've got one too or something like it, you know, you could light a tiny candle in the bottom and then go ahead and burn this tissue during your intention with your magic. Okay? Because when this poppet is all done and you've formed it all, you're going to want to surround it with baby's rattle and the clothes from playtime. So put on a brand new outfit of clothes during playtime. Have an hour playtime session with the rattle with all baby's favorite toys, okay? And then when you're all done, take them off before baby has any time to be upset in those clothings at all. Take them off, put them in this jar, and the rattle, and any other things you can get in there from playtime that hold good energy. I don't suggest Binky because Binky goes in the mouth, and, the sucker, the Binky thing. Because Binky goes in the mouth and, you could certainly muddle that. And if anything touched it and then it went in the mouth. Anyway. So you want to do things that can be washed later on as well. So like the clothes or the blanket that they sleep with that's so precious. And especially for the sleep spell, you want the blanket. Okay, period. You need the blanket. So get the clothes and then the good happiness jarred up, okay? And then you have the tissue jarred up. You burn that. Okay. Poppet's here. Your herbs are in it. Another variation, and then you can also spell out baby's name in future tense, like you can say, let's say the baby's name is Lily, that's my daughter's name. Lily now sleeps the night through with no tears and no pain. You have to say it in future tense like it's already happened, because when you ask for things in spells, the universe doesn't understand the construct of time. And so you need to say it in the way you want it to be. Because if we keep saying, my life sucks, the universe hears that and makes your life, Alright, so then I would, you can do as many of these things as you want or as little of these things as you want. You can amp it up with some candle magic, adding some amethyst oil that I've made, clary sage oil, roll that onto a candle, yellow for fatherhood help, blue for motherhood help. Carve your intention what you want in there. In the future tense. Lily, or whatever your baby's name is, cries no more before bed and sleeps the full night through in happiness and joy. Okay? Roll it in the oils. Roll it in as many of these herbs as you can, and the herbs will stick to the oil. And your intention's in there. As that candle burns down, your intention, it's grounded in the astral plane. It's taken care of, right? You have these special things out of the jar next to this, safely. You're watching this the whole time because there's cloth next to fire, right? You have these things around, out of the jar, safely burning next to your safely sitting there next to your candle as you're sitting there holding your intention over this. Because the next two ingredients that you need, besides, all these things we talked about, are your time and your intention. Those are the two most important ingredients, and if you don't have those, this really is only 10% out of 100% of what it could be, really, guys. So you want to sit here. Your poppet's sitting here with you and your candle. The precious things are sitting here. You've burned the tissue over the candle you've got, or in your cauldron over here, and you're saying out loud, I burn away and banish these tears. I banish these tears from our home. I banish these tears from my child's face. My child will cry no more for sleep, and you're burning that away, okay? Do you understand? That's what I forgot to say to do in the diaper rash video. Burn that away as you're doing these candle magics. Set it up like this, okay? Now, this candle burns down, and these candles take about 45 minutes. If you sit there for one of these candles, do you see how big it is? They cost like $0.25. You shouldn't pay more than $0.25 for them. They'll try and charge you $1 at some places. Shame on you! Shame on those metaphysical shops. That's way too much. I understand 50 cents, but $1 makes it impossible for people to use spells. Buy them in bulk. You can get like 200 packs of like loads of colors, all the colors. That's how I do it. Alright, so I think I talked about everything, and we're sitting right at 17 minutes. So maybe I should show you how to do a... Oh no, I have to tell you how to make the second amp up of the spell, which is a sachet. If you don't know what a sachet is, they come in all shapes and sizes, y'all. But like, here's a couple. And this part, you have to get your doctor's approval. I am not a doctor. I am not an herbalist that's certified in any way. I'm just a practicing herbalist that like watches videos, reads books, and has been doing for 20 years. So, the herbalist part for 20 years, not the witchcraft part. All these herbs I mentioned, linden flower, ashwagandha, valerian root, chamomile, hops, magnolia bark, clary sage, that's a sedative, lemon balm, rosebuds, purple passion flower, and lavender, all of those things you could put into here. But not the valerian. Do not put the valerian root into a sachet. It's way too strong. You can put them in here and see how you can, like, they can breathe through this. See how it's see-through? So it's like you can smell through it, I mean. You can ask your doctor or your naturopath, and you must ask them first, can I put this in one of these places in my home? And I'll tell you a good place to ask. Ask them if any of these places are okay to put any of these herbs in this sachet. So to amp up or replace the poppet spell by making a sachet for under their bed or pillow or other places must be doctor approved. Choose any of the above herbs to add to a sachet bag. Tie it shut and place it anywhere a doctor says is okay. Example, hang above the bed or on any wall of the room, under the bed, directly under the pillow, which, gosh, that could be really dangerous, you guys, because if they could eat it, choke on it, I would say no until they're like into the at least 12 months, and make sure you ask your doctor for the under the pillow. In a car seat or with laundry in the drawer, so that it's in the smell of the clothing, okay? So ask doctor about all those things, but you could amp it up by doing a sleep sachet along with all this other stuff, or instead of all of it, okay? So those are my ideas on how you could do that, and I have time to show you how to make a poppet. Alright, you could use the Scrabble tiles by spelling out what you want in future tense using law of attraction. Okay. So poppets that I make, I use paraffin wax, like they have at the salon. And basically the stuff that's stuck to the top, that's a great place to start. Oh, it says my recording's going to be stopped. Why? I hope it doesn't stop. Anyway, you dip your hand in. Ooh, it's warm. And what's stuck to your hand, it'll dry. Whoop. Don't want to get my dreads in there. If the recording stops on its own, I say goodbye. Taxidermy Witch Jen. But as this dries, you can hold your intention in there. Heal my baby from this not sleeping. Heal my baby. And you could actually put the herbs in your hand at this point to warm them up and like really get them in the wax warmed up. And then the wax just kind of like peels off your hand like this. And it usually takes 2 dips or so to make a poppet the size I've got here on the table. Because let me show you. Under the camera I have fur, and I don't want to get any wax on fur, I'm sorry. It's Australian fur. If you want to know what kind of fur, ask. I've shown it in my studio tour. Okay, so see that ball, or that one dip that I did, only made something about this big, and if I were to build that and do a poppet, and compare it next to the others, I mean, it would be fine. It's as big as you want it to be. I'm just saying this is how big it is for the one dip. And then these were probably like a 3 dip. But you know, it's a baby. So, and another shape you could do could be just like, you could just make it into like more of like a little I'm not doing it very well. Like a little baby sleeping in a bed or something. But I still think that by putting the arms and the legs there, that when you do something where you're saying like diaper rash or teething, where you want it to be in a specific area, it's easier to define when it's, or even if they hurt their hand, you could just put it right there in the hand. So it's easier to define with limbs. But that's how you make a poppet out of a paraffin wax warmer. I do already have a video on how to make a poppet out of a paraffin wax warmer, I believe. But I've really been enjoying making these videos for you, Evan, and everybody else that has infants. Just remember to not do this anywhere near where your infant is, on the other side of the house or in a different house even. And that valerian root is very, 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 and the clary sage is a sedative, which is, they're both very strong. So you may want to just completely omit those. And that's up to you, you guys. Have a really beautiful day, and I have a 3rd video coming up on how to do a poppet and even more advanced or substitution or alternative magic for a teething issues. Teething is next. Alright guys, thank you. Jen the Taxidermy Witch.